Did Buckingham Palace or Prince William set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and were they gullible enough to fall into it?
He's had enough. He wants to clean the monarchy, and it's all now in the hands of the courts. Meghan Markle is in full mode panic along with Harry because they both know what they did.
The stories would come out. So apparently, according to other journalists, we found out that there were a lot of porcupines probably told to the royals and even to Harry when they met her. And in order to cover up,
it's actually torture to listen to that woman now, because every other word out of her mouth is a lie. None of it really makes sense.
Prince William just drew a line in the sand, and this time it cut straight through Meghan Markle's maternity story. While the Duchess was busy filming TikTok dances inside a hospital delivery room and posting polished clips on Instagram for likes, a courtroom across the Atlantic was dealing with something way more serious. No filters, no cute captions, just cold legal questions. A £157 million inheritance fight exploded into the spotlight, dragging in a centuries-old rule that the palace has carefully avoided talking about since 2019. At the center of it all, one blunt question that refuses to go away. Were the Sussex children born of the body, as traditional succession language requires? If not, the issue wouldn't just be gossip, it would be a constitutional headache. And while there is no official evidence challenging their status, the online debate keeps getting louder every year. Just days ago, one of the biggest aristocratic legal cases in Britain unfolded quietly in the High Court in Bristol. Most royal commentators barely touched it, but legal insiders were locked in. Mark Bathurst stepped forward with his legal team and acknowledged something huge. His second son, 9-year-old Henry, was born through legally documented surrogacy in West Hollywood back in 2016. Now the question is whether old trust language written before 1970 recognizes a child born that way as an heir.
silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery. If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
She wants all of the privileges that go along with an identity, but she doesn't want any of the responsibility. She doesn't want to do any of the work. She wants the tiara. She doesn't want the public service.
We said, everything I said in the beginning was favorable. Nobody printed that. And when I said nothing, they created stories. And it was really but there were so many of them. And why? It would have been so easy to be honest about who she is. So all of these lies started coming out, but we didn't know that she had told the royal family so many porcupines. So it makes sense. Oh my God, I've got to keep everybody away, because if they start talking, the lies come out.
Classic.
We're talking about £157 million tied up in historic trusts, drafted using wording from another era. Back then, phrases like heir of the body weren't poetic, they were literal. And under those definitions, modern surrogacy simply wasn't imagined. The presiding judge, David Matthews, laid it out plainly in court, stating, "There is uncertainty as to whether Henry falls at present within the class of beneficiaries. That's not drama, that's legal reality. Henry is biologically his parents' child, born through a lawful and documented process, yet the court still has to interpret centuries-old wording against modern family structures. No scandal, no conspiracy, just the collision of tradition in today's world. And that collision is exactly why people are suddenly connecting dots back to royal succession language. The palace may stay silent, but the law always asks its questions. We're not sure you count." That's basically what the court was saying in that inheritance case. And now people are looking straight at Montecito, because here's the real issue. The royal line of succession runs on the same old-school wording, born of the body. That phrase isn't cute poetry. It's legal language baked into the system since the Act of Settlement 1701. For more than 3 centuries, every heir close to the throne has followed that structure. Witnessed, documented, signed off, no gray areas, no shortcuts, no special edits, no modern rewrites. And then Archie arrived, and critics online started saying the rulebook suddenly felt flexible. Now, to be clear, there is no official evidence that the Sussex children were born outside legal requirements. But what raised eyebrows for some observers was the break from visible tradition, and that's where the chatter started building steam.
Maybe King Charles didn't want to do anything about it given what's going on with Andrew, but in order for William to save the monarchy, he has to deal with the Archie and Lilibet problem. Something is happening right now in the courts, which is incredibly important, and nobody's paying attention to it because this will make history, and not in a good way for Meghan Markle. She had a lot of health issues and she couldn't have one of her children, so they had to use a surrogate in the United States. Why the United States? Because in the United Kingdom, the children, even though through a surrogate, belong to the surrogate. The Marquess of Bath was open and transparent about this. So she is right now going through the legal process because as per the Peerage Act of 1963, that child born in the United States from a surrogate is not entitled to anything, inheritance or anything. We've had Harry on Spare talking about, how Meghan Markle, how complicated it was, how they went to the hospital, how Meghan Markle had to have 2 epidurals. We know all of that is BS. We know all of that is a lie. So Prince William knows that the crown cannot keep making the same mistakes in the past, that nobody who is not working royal can hold titles. At this point in time, King Charles doesn't understand that he cannot continue having Harry and Meghan on the British monarchy's website when they are absolutely trashing the very same institution and using titles for commercial purposes, which is basically repeating the same pattern that Sarah Ferguson has done and even Andrew did. That has to stop. And the Peerage Act of 1963 clearly states, just like for royalty, that a surrogate cannot be used. And William has ordered an open investigation into Lilibet and Archie's birth because he knows that that cannot be hanging over the head of the monarchy, over his reign.
This isn't about blind hate or jumping on some internet train. It's about patterns. Meghan sat with Oprah Winfrey talking about living authentically, yet at the same time her team has reportedly pushed back hard on media narratives with legal warnings when pregnancy questions pop up. That's not illegal, that's PR defense. But critics say it feels less like openness and more like tight brand control with a royal gloss on top. And the pregnancy questions? They aren't wild theories. They're procedural questions tied to how succession works. In a monarchy built on bloodline clarity, people expect documentation and transparency. When Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, welcomed their children at St. Mary's Hospital, the world saw the steps photo call within hours. Tradition locked in, nation watching. With Archie, born at the Portland Hospital on May 6, 2019, things were handled differently. No hospital steps photo call, no immediate public doctor's notice posted outside Buckingham Palace like in previous generations. The birth certificate was filed, yes, but the communications rollout felt unusually private compared to past royal births.
People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI.
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
Trevor put an article out there that Meghan had a hysterectomy and couldn't have children. And that was a big issue in their relationship. So that says a lot to the fake royal kids right now, because obviously they couldn't have come out of her. So that's something that she obviously is going to have to deal with.
In his memoir, Spare, Prince Harry described leaving the hospital within about 2 hours, straight into a vehicle, back to Frogmore Cottage, before the palace press office had fully confirmed labor updates. That speed surprised royal watchers used to the slower, ceremonial approach. Different doesn't automatically mean wrong. But when centuries of ritual suddenly shift, people notice. And when old legal phrases like "born of the body" start trending in courtrooms at the same time, that's when the conversation gets loud, real loud. For over 3 centuries, royal births weren't staged for clicks or entertainment. They were handled publicly for one reason: constitutional legitimacy. The system was built on visibility, witnesses, signatures, formal notices. It wasn't about glamour. It was about protecting the line of succession under the framework shaped by the Act of Settlement 1701. That's why when tradition suddenly shifts, people don't just shrug. They start asking questions. Then there's how Prince Harry described Archie's birth in Spare. He wrote about electric candles, framed photos of Diana, and an Ayurvedic doctor, suggesting they whisper wishes to the baby in the first 60 seconds of life. It reads intimate and spiritual, almost like a lifestyle blog moment. One commenter joked, "Other royals give you a birth announcement. Harry gave us a scented candle inventory." That line stuck because it captures the vibe shift people noticed.
Meghan Markle has been incredibly quiet about the birth, but mostly the pregnancy of these children. Everything has been shady. The one who's been blabbing and saying crazy things is Prince Harry. Meghan, a geriatric mother. The family claims and states that Meghan had a hysterectomy. How can a woman with a hysterectomy be pregnant? And most of all, why did the royal family, go along with this? And what's going to happen now that this has come out?
When Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor was born in June 2021 at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, the attention doubled. Harry wrote, "I slid my hands under the tiny back and neck. I pulled our precious daughter from that world into this." And honestly, if that moment happened just like that, it's beautiful. No one knocks a father wanting to be hands-on. That part is human. But here's where the constitutional debate kicks in. Historically, senior royal births included formal notifications and independent verification processes. With Archie and Lilibet, the announcements followed modern privacy standards rather than old ceremonial customs. No public hospital steps photo call. No palace bulletin signed by doctors posted on an easel outside Buckingham Palace like in earlier generations. Instead, official statements were released through press channels. That's a modern approach, but it's different from tradition, and different always sparks noise. When children are sixth and seventh in line to the throne, people expect clarity that matches centuries of precedent. Not poetry, not memoir storytelling, just documentation. Supporters argue everything required by law was completed. Critics argue the communication felt unusually controlled, and that gap is where the speculation lives. Here's the real tension. If there's nothing unusual, and there's no verified evidence of wrongdoing, why hasn't there been a single blunt, no-frills clarification addressing every online rumor head-on? Not legal pushback, not silence, just a clean, detailed breakdown. That's the question commentators keep circling. Reports have claimed that Prince William prefers tighter alignment between royal protocol and public presentation. While no official statement from him labels anything suspicious, insiders have suggested he values strict adherence to tradition when it comes to constitutional optics.
I mean, obviously, when William was born and Harry was born and George and Charlotte and Louis, we got great pictures outside the hospital. I remember, and William and Catherine especially, they made such an effort to show the whole world their new baby. And then when the baby was born, when Archie was born, that was another, in my view, a disaster, because I knew we was not going to get a picture of it. Everybody was hoping we would get pictures.
And his actions show a clear shift. The Sussex profiles adjusted on the official royal website, titles reviewed carefully, boundaries drawn between personal branding and institutional identity. This isn't about drama for the sake of drama. It's about an old institution meeting a modern media machine. And when monarchy rules collide with California-style privacy, sparks are bound to fly, loud and unavoidable. Someone online said it straight. "Meghan, if you hate the royals so much, stop using the title they gave you." That comment blew up because it hits the nerve people keep talking about. It's not just tabloids or wild theories, it's the image clash. You can't criticize the monarchy on Netflix and then put Duchess of Sussex on product labels. To critics, that feels like rejecting the system while still cashing in on the shine. Pick a lane. That's the energy. Now swing back to the Bath case, because that's where talk turns into law. Mark Bathurst has been open about his son Henry being born through surrogacy. No hiding, no coded language. He's fighting in court to make sure his child's inheritance rights are secure. And that's a father standing up for his kid, full respect. But here's the legal twist. Historic trust wording doesn't automatically account for children born via surrogacy. That's not drama, that's old drafting meeting modern reality. The High Court judge, David Matthews, made it clear there's uncertainty under the current wording. That means Bathurst has to formally petition the court to clarify Henry's status. The law doesn't just adjust itself, it has to be interpreted or updated. That's how legacy trusts work when language was written generations ago. Now here's where people start connecting dots. Private trusts can be amended through legal channels. But constitutional instruments like the Act of Settlement 1701 and the Succession to the Crown Act 2013 aren't family paperwork you tweak over coffee. They're embedded in the structure of the monarchy. So when people see uncertainty in a £157 million estate case, they naturally ask how similar wording applies at the highest level. To be very clear, there is no official evidence that Archie or Lilibet were born via surrogacy, and no court has questioned their status in the line of succession. But online commentators argue that if such a scenario were ever legally confirmed in any royal context, Parliament, not social media, would be the body that interprets constitutional impact. That's not gossip. That's how constitutional law functions. Then there's Samantha Markle. Years ago, she urged people to look at the timeline. At the time, many dismissed it as family tension playing out in public. Now, with the Bath case making headlines, some critics say her comments feel different, not proven, just reframed in light of a broader legal conversation.
Do you remember Meghan actually refused to use the hospital that was usually used by royals and refused to use all of the normal medical staff, and there was all of the weirdness over the timing of the birth of Art? This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years. In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump. The fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
When these questions first surfaced, the Sussex camp reportedly responded through legal channels rather than detailed public breakdowns. That's a strategy choice. Some see it as protecting privacy. Others see it as avoiding transparency. Meanwhile, Prince Harry wrote a 416-page memoir sharing intensely personal stories. Yet the birth process itself remained described in emotional terms rather than procedural detail. That contrast is what keeps debate alive. At the end of the day, this isn't about internet noise. It's about old constitutional language colliding with modern family realities. And until the law itself is challenged or clarified at a constitutional level, the positions of the Sussex children remain officially recognized as they stand. But the conversation, it's not going quiet anytime soon. Some critics say he somehow couldn't find one clear paragraph to shut the surrogate rumors down for good. A man who openly shared deeply personal stories in Spare left out the simple procedural details some people keep asking about. As one online voice put it, Harry will write about everything except the things that actually matter. That line spread fast because it captures the frustration certain royal watchers feel. Here's where this really lands. Prince William didn't create this storm. He stepped into it, the same way he'll one day step into the crown. From what observers can see, his approach has been about tightening structure, reinforcing protocol, and keeping the institution steady. No flashy interviews, no emotional oversharing. Just slow, careful positioning. Look at the contrast people keep pointing out. Mark Bathurst is handling his inheritance issue in open court. Filings, hearings, transparency in black and white. Meanwhile, when questions swirl around Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the response has largely come through legal representatives and privacy defenses rather than detailed public clarification. Supporters call that protecting family boundaries. Critics call it damage control. Two completely different optics. And longtime royal followers, the ones who watched Princess Diana walk down that aisle, who mourned her loss, who cheered when William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped onto the Buckingham Palace balcony. They feel deeply protective of the institution. To them, this isn't celebrity gossip, it's legacy. A monarchy built on bloodline rules has survived abdications, divorces, scandals, and explosive memoirs. It survived public heartbreak and private drama. But what it cannot afford, in the eyes of its defenders, is ongoing uncertainty around succession language. To be clear, the Sussex children remain officially recognized in the line of succession. There is no ruling challenging their status, but the online debate hasn't faded, and perception, fair or not, shapes public confidence. If you followed this saga from day one, you know each new legal twist adds another layer to the conversation. The next breakdown is going to connect pieces that haven't been lined up side by side before, and the context matters. So if you want the full picture when that drops, make sure you're locked in and subscribed, because this right here sets the stage.